Okay, what?
What the fuck was that?
I have no idea what just happened.
Oh, and we're recording. Crap, you gotta edit that now.
Wait. All right, you just edit that part out. Okay. What's going on? We are back with season 2 Lalomanu Beach coverage. Here we are breaking down the season finale. Oh my gosh, guys. It's here. It was a great episode, and we're going to be talking it all through. Of course, I'm with my co-host McKenna, and then we have the guy that has been breaking down all these episodes all season long, Robbie. How are you?
I'm doing great, and it's great to kind of be at the end, but it's a little sad because we've been getting the first confessional of the last bunch of episodes, all from Kyle. And it felt kind of strange to come into this one, and we get Anthony, and that's it at the beginning. No offense, Anthony, but Kyle's intros have been hilarious and entertaining. But he got idled out with his own idol in the last episode.
Essentially,
yeah, 3-2 vote that was from Kyle's perspective supposed to go against Morgan, but that's why you don't give your clues away to people, I guess. That's
and especially someone who's proven to have found idols.
Yeah, he definitely learned a tough lesson with that one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too. You got to do what you got to do when you're scrambling, but it came back to bite him. This is one of those examples. And we get Anthony, jumping in right away saying, hey, it's been fun. This has been a great night and excited to try to get to the final 3. And we go right to the immunity challenge. And this is where we find the whether it's final 2 or if it's final 3, because you guys announce welcome to your final immunity challenge. So that's when everybody realizes, okay, this is final 3, and it's about to get real.
Yeah, we didn't want people to get too comfy thinking, oh, our minis will be final 2 because season 1 was a final 2. This one, it was a final 3. So we want people to always kind of be on their toes of it could be a final 3 next season. It could be a final 2. Who knows? But
the next season's going to be final 4. You're just going to keep adding
you don't know.
Every time.
You never know. Oh, but we had to end it with an endurance challenge. Couldn't get away from it. But
did you have to name it what you named it though?
Yes.
Lauren did.
Like,
okay,
come on.
I will just say Lauren named that one. I had Hand on a Hard Idol like it is in the show.
Yep.
Because that's kind of we kind of wanted to make that our staple like last challenge, where it's like, you're getting into a wall sit if you make it to the final 4.
Yeah.
So I wanted to name it after like the actual Survivor challenge, but Lauren was like, nope, type.
How about back? How about back? Back on a hard idol, or
I mean, butt was just so iconic. It was fitting. Originally it was hand, and I was like, nope, we're not going with what they had. I want it my way.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a great challenge. The contestants, so the people playing thought that was coming last episode. I think they called, or maybe 2 episodes ago, they were saying, is it a wall sit? Is it a wall sit? And you guys said, no, that would be a Lauren invention. And then And then here we go. Yeah. So, right off the bat, I thought there was an interesting strategy where you see Jackie waits as you count down, 10, 9, 8, all the way down to 1. I think it's like a 2 count before Jackie actually goes down into the 90, which is genius because anybody who's on a wall sit knows that 10 seconds can make or break who wins this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only notes I have on this entire challenge is that it wasn't even close. Jackie dominated this from the start. She was at a perfect 90. She had her phone out just to kill time because she was going to be there all day. Her dog came up and she was playing with her dog.
Yeah.
And everybody else was sitting here struggling, trying to, breathe and not die at the same time. And Jackie's just hanging out and joking and talking to the dog. And
her only competition, I think, was Morgan, because Morgan was like, oh, it's a wall sit. Okay. Yep. Serena and Anthony were both like, it's a wall sit.
Yeah. There was 2 laughers.
Like, all right, I'm done now. Like we're just gonna not even try here.
When you guys announced wall sit, Serena and Jackie laughed at the same time, pretty hysterically, and for totally different reasons. Yeah. Jackie was like, "Okay, this is my strength."
Like, you think this? I'm gonna do a wall sit?
Yeah, no. And it's one of those things too, where you can be pretty good at this stuff, but there always happens to be somebody in one of these seasons that could just do it all day long.
Mhm.
I mean, like
Right.
the plank challenges we've seen in previous seasons, people could go for
Yeah, Jackie
forever.
was like, the planks are my thing.
Yep.
Wall sit is
Yeah.
probably not that much different. So we saw her clinch that kind of really important win for her, because if she didn't get that win, like, who knows, maybe they might have flipped, but
I don't know though.
Yeah.
It's tough to say, especially with that dynamic of her and Anthony. What I will say, strategy though, Morgan wearing socks,
Brutal.
that was not good.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention that because it's kind of rubbing salt in the wound. But yeah, it's one of those things where for an experienced player like Morgan is, I was surprised to see it, that there wasn't, sneakers of some sort, or barefoot on hardwood even would be better than socks on kind of a carpeted floor, I think she had there. But, it is what it is. And these people have been playing at this point for 12 hours at least.
Yep.
And you've got 30 seconds to prep and you're exhausted. She just survived 10 minutes ago, an idle, 3-2 vote. So she's in survival mode. Morgan is at this point. And this is the first time after this win, which is 3 in a row for Jackie. You got to mention that. This is the first time that Morgan's been at risk really since the end of episode 7, which is the Brittley rock draw.
right.
So this is a whole new world for Morgan at this point.
Yeah, because she had idols, advantages, safeties, and an immunity win where she was just like, all right, good. I'm good for this next couple votes. And
Yeah, because after 7, she knew I got 6 safe no matter what, 5 safe no matter what. I'm golden. It doesn't matter what happens in the challenges.
Yeah, exactly. And, with the challenge win, the idol and legacy, kind of all she had it all in the bank there.
Mhm.
And the pre-tribal is as straightforward as the challenge was, really. Nobody's showing any love to Morgan. You've got Jackie, Anthony, and Serena all seem to be sticking together pretty strong. The debate between voting out Jackie or Morgan can't be had because Jackie won, the idol at this point, which, at this point in the season, visually, like when you see the challenges coming out and who's flipping and who's doing all the big moves, Jackie and Morgan are definitely the biggest threats, that are out in front of people, at least at this point in the season. And you see Jackie mentions that's the target, and everyone pretty much just tells Morgan straight up, yeah, sorry about it, but
Yeah, and then Morgan, her really only hope, because she didn't really have a relationship with Serena, so her only hope is to try and pull Jackie to see, just like, let me make fire, just let me make fire, and didn't convince her enough, or
She wasn't drunk enough, she wasn't at that level to change her mind.
But speaking about that though, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. It's unfortunate Morgan was in the position she was in. There's no incentive for Jackie to give Morgan an opportunity to add something to her resume. Do you know what I mean? Like, to give Morgan that opportunity to shine doesn't make sense. But I'm surprised that somebody like Anthony didn't push for it. Because at this point, Anthony has to know that regardless of who goes to the end with him, whether it's Jackie, Morgan, or Serena, that he hasn't played the really strong social game, working with both sides and manipulating people and stuff like that. He worked with Jackie a little bit, but at this point, you feel Anthony, okay, he's got to make that big move. And I was surprised that maybe he didn't say, put me in against Morgan, let me take Morgan out, because, for whatever reason, I don't know how he could convince people to let him do that. I think Serena would have helped him out, just out of a loyalty move, and tossed a vote on Anthony. And you could have had Morgan toss a vote on Anthony, and then Jackie and Morgan could have voted for. Jackie would have voted for Morgan and Serena. Yeah, so they could have finagled it, but. Yeah, that's not the way it went. And the same thing happens at Tribal Council. You guys ask the questions. Jackie's feeling great. She's top 3. Anthony throws Morgan under the bus, saying that, she's going to win if she gets to the end, or at least that she's a big threat. Right. Morgan asks for fire making again. She puts out the plea that says, this is all I can hope for. Yeah. And then Serena, in one of the funnier moments of the season was kind of like, yeah, sorry, Morgan. Because you asked her, Serena, is your vote pretty clear tonight? And Serena just says, yeah, sorry, Morgan. Right in front of everyone, just right out in the open. I laughed out loud with that one, which would have been funny if Serena went home. Right.
That would have been good.
Like, if you would have seen this on television, and you saw her say that, you would know the edit was making it because Serena was going home.
I know that kind of moment very well because I got blindsided in a way where I was like, oh yeah, me and so are deciding the vote tonight.
Yeah.
Ew.
Not the case.
No.
You got demolished with that one.
Yeah, a little bit.
And we see a classic Serena moment in this season where she's been really efficient at the subtle pokes and the subtle, seed planting. And she says here, you saw how I did at the wall sit. You saw how that went. So why would you send it to fire making? Do you know what I mean? So like, just one more reason, like, don't give her the chance because she's going to beat us. Look, we'll never, we're no good at challenges. Look how that went. Just in case Jackie was on the fence because she has flipped already in the season. Just in case, she's kind of like, I'm still with you, Jackie. Don't do it. And we see the votes come down 3-1, Morgan, 1 vote, Anthony. And you know what, for one of the best players of the season, when it comes to the challenges, at least, and the hidden idols and the advantages and all that stuff, Morgan was a beast in this season. I think her social game came back to bite her in the end a little bit here. All those times where she just blatantly said she's not working with anybody else and she's got it made. She just didn't have the relationships at the end, and that's it. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, and her voting confessional where she was voting out Anthony, I think was one of the most heartbreaking moments because she knew it. And I'm like, oh, like my heart.
Yeah, and this is where you got to give a lot of credit to, like I said, we sit here and we kind of poke and prod and analyze and nitpick a lot of stuff, which is annoying as a player to watch your game get nitpicked when you're exhausted, like I said, after 12 or 13 hours at this point. And, the fact is that these people showed up for fun, stuck with it this whole time. And, in a total class act move, when she knew her game was screwed, she still sat there. She went through the confessionals, Morgan did, went through the tribal, participated, wasn't a poor sport about anything, and went through the motions and gave the fans what we wanted to see. We got to see everything play out. And not that we wanted to see her go home, but we got to see the episode work without somebody being a poor sport, which unfortunately you see in some minis like this online where people just say, F it. If I'm that screwed and you're not even going to play with me, well, then
I'm not going to play with you. Goodbye.
She goes out a hero, classic Morgan move.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we roll into final tribal council with Jackie, Serena, and Anthony. Robbie, what are your thoughts on all this?
This was really, really interesting because I thought as a viewer going in, Jackie had this in the bag, 100%. She had the social game when it came to working with allies from kind of both sides. And I thought Anthony was going to be a little bit behind, to say it respectfully here. He just had a raw deal in the season. He didn't, have the luck with the numbers, and he didn't make the connections with the other side. I thought Serena might get a couple votes because of the fact that she's really been, as Serena worded it, the hub for information, where she always knew where the vote was going for the most part, not every single time, but for the majority of it. And she knew where other people were voting, right? Specifically who was going to vote where, because she went and talked to Shea, she went and talked to Greg, and she talked to Jackie and Morgan. She talked to everybody, right? And Kyle and everything like that, where Anthony didn't. He kind of stuck with his trio. So I thought Anthony was a little screwed. But what was really interesting was to see the reaction from the jury on Jackie's decision to flip on her alliance. And not just that they were upset about it, which is natural, right? They had the numbers. They could have, in theory, rolled right through. Jackie and Morgan won the majority of, if I remember correctly, like I think Shea and Greg won in I think episode 7, and then after that it was just the Jackie and Morgan show.
Yeah, Jackie won 4, Shea and Greg won the 1, Morgan won 1. And was that it?
I think Anthony might have won 1.
Oh, and Anthony won.
Yeah, Anthony with the
earlier
with the balls. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had the numbers and they had the talent to get to the final 5 or whatever they wanted to do. But what I was really interested in was the lack of awareness from Jackie here. We see Shea attacks her, pretty straight on, attacks Jackie saying, listen, yes, it was a move and it was a big move, but I feel like it was unnecessary. It's one thing for people who are in the minority to flip and to make moves and to swing numbers. But if you're in the majority and you're a strength in that majority, it was just a flip just to screw people is kind of what Shea was saying.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that. And he didn't really respect that. And you see Jackie's opening argument. She mentions one of the things that she did in the season was betray people. And that's a theme that continues through this final tribal council. And you see when Shea gives his questions to everybody, he customizes the question to each individual. He targets Jackie on it, and Jackie pretty much just doubles down and says, no, I felt like I wasn't in that 5. And I feel like at that point, well, I was shocked because I'm thinking, wow, Shea's vote is up for grabs. And maybe the other people in the alliance's group or vote are up for grabs too, right? And when she doubled down on that, even with good examples, she said, listen, you guys voted Shawn out. So how did I know I was safe if you already voted somebody out?
Yeah,
But
I think that's a big prop to Anthony in his game because he was able to be like, Jackie, leave your like solid 3 to come with us and be a number 4. Like
yeah.
if Jackie hadn't won that final 5 immunity, Anthony didn't want Kyle to go home. So
No. No, I agree 100% to that. And, I think you saw Anthony and you saw Serena both working Jackie a lot through the season. And Serena mentions that at one point in the final tribal about, she pretty much took credit of it for it, saying, I got someone from the other alliance to flip. Didn't name Jackie, but everybody knew that's who she was referring to. But I feel like when Jackie gave her answer about, when you guys voted Shawn out, and you didn't put me in the vote. There was a vote where Jackie voted for Kyle and everybody else voted for Nikki. And Jackie was left out of that one, or she felt left out. When the feedback from Shea was still negative, you got to flip at that point. You got to change your mindset right there as Jackie and just start almost apologizing or showing empathy at least. Maybe not apologizing, but like, I can understand how that would feel and yada, yada, yada. And maybe I could have approached it a different way, but even in the closing arguments, Jackie doubles down again and says, I know I betrayed people, but I did what I had to do. And Shea and Greg were in control.
Well, what she should have also done, and the biggest, she got 0 votes in the game, and she never mentioned it one time.
I didn't even think of that. That's not easy to do. That is not easy to do. Yeah. And that really speaks to what we were mentioning earlier, how I mentioned how Morgan, this was the first episode in the finale that Morgan was at risk since episode 7. Well, since that same point, Kyle, Serena, and Anthony needed Jackie as a number. And once they didn't need Jackie as a number, she went on a 3 immunity winning streak, right? So Jackie was never really at risk to get written down, except for towards the beginning, and maybe right at merge, I guess. But yeah, you're right. How do you not point out the fact that I never saw a vote all season and I won and I did flips and I backstabbed and yet I still had a social game to keep the votes off of me. That alone is winning caliber material. You know what I mean? We see some interesting questions. We see Morgan lobs up a softball for Jackie right at the end too, which I thought was a kind of a classy move for Morgan because Jackie was a big part of why Morgan went home. And yet Morgan, knowing that Jackie played one of the best games of the season in Morgan's opinion, because she mentioned it, that she said, can you just elaborate for me? But it's really for everybody. What was in that vote that you apparently tied it and Brittley ends up going home and all that stuff on the wheel? Can you explain step by step? And it was really just giving Jackie the stage to say, here's how strategic I was and how in the know I was. But I was surprised a little bit that nobody countered that with the fact that Brittley was also in the room, right? When Greg was asking everybody, we're voting Serena, Brittley was there. And I've wondered since that happened, how Jackie knew Brittley wasn't, because she never had a chance to talk to Brittley because she was in confessional, then talked to Morgan and then went right to vote. And so it's like, it was a great move and she called it, but there was that element of a risk because you didn't know where Brittley was going to vote. Right. Unless maybe, did you guys cut out any group chats in between that?
I don't think we did. I think we
but
everything.
I think Jackie just took kind of either an educated guess, or she was like, well, then Anthony goes home. Like it was kind of like I'd still be with my numbers, but or I can have my move work. It was kind of an educated guess on where Brittley was actually going.
Yeah, and you know what? If she didn't call it, if Jackie didn't call it when she was casting the vote, I'm doing this to tie it, then I would have discounted it as a lucky move. But she when you call your shot and then you hit it, it's beautiful. It's one of the best plays of the season, honestly.
One of my favorite things about this tribal council is like each of them really embody like outwit, outplay, and outlast. Where Serena, I feel like she's more in the outwit, where she was able to be in conversations and in the know when she's in the minority. Jackie, for immunities, outplay, like, oh my gosh, keep yourself safe as long as possible and for those important crucial moments. And then Anthony, he got the third most votes on the season, Kyle only edging him out by 1 vote and Morgan canceling the majority of hers. And he just like outlasted everyone else. So I just love that it's like a full circle kind of even playing field with all of them, that they're in different categories and not one is fighting for the one category.
It was a good final tribal council. I really appreciated everyone's answers. I thought Jackie should have given a little bit more, but at the end of the day, she did what she needed to do.
Yeah, and I was shocked. I was shocked that she didn't kind of evolve as the criticisms kept coming. And even like we said that before, and even when I think it was Kyle asked, give me a reason why you shouldn't win the game, which is a really hard one to answer because you don't want to give a good reason, right? Yeah. And, you see Anthony kind of mentions there were some votes I wasn't in the know. Okay, well, it sucks you weren't in the know, but that's not the end of the world. Serena says, challenges, I wasn't the greatest at challenges. Well, that's obvious because she never won any, but that wasn't her way of winning. She mentioned earlier, I didn't come in here to win all the challenges. I came in to play social. So it wasn't really a negative. Jackie goes, I shouldn't win because I backstabbed everybody. And that's the second last question.
You did backstab me.
Like, oh yeah. It's like, oh, and anyways, it was
but I do want to give credit to her though for being like, I did this, because also a lot of times we negatively credit people for dancing around things. So like power to her, where she was just like, yeah.
She did own it. She did.
Which is fair, but at this point you're trying to make people vote for you. and I love it, but you know what? If you realize that and multiple people are asking you about it and bringing it up, it's got to walk the line a little bit, but I loved it. Like, Jackie was easily an all-star of the season. And coming into this, I thought she was going to win this in a landslide unanimous vote. And by the end of tribal, I thought that, Shea pretty much just gave Serena a bunch of credit in front of everybody, saying, you got to talk more and take more credit for what you did. And in the closing arguments, Jackie pretty much says, I backstabbed people, and reiterated why and defended herself, but focused still on backstabbing.
Yeah.
And then Serena goes second, which is really lucky for Serena in this position, because Jackie can't defend what Serena's about to say. Mm-hmm. And Serena says, I'm the one that got her to flip. So all the reasons that you guys hate her, like, that was my move. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, she says, I stayed loyal to all my people. So everything that Jackie did poorly, I did great. Like, I stayed loyal to my team unless I had to, and just directly countered everything that Jackie said. Yeah. At that point, I was like, man, this might come down to a crazy split vote, because Anthony might get a couple, Serena might now steal a couple, Jackie might, keep a couple that I thought she had all of them. And I was really interested to see.
It came down to a split vote between Jackie and Serena, so we had to Ghost Island this, and Anthony cast the final vote. And
did you know the behind the scenes though? So here's a little thing from the production side. As the votes were coming through, McKenna actually wasn't writing down who the hell voted for anyone, because originally we weren't going to read the votes. And so she was just going to look back at the footage and see who voted for who, and then we were going to reveal it at the reunion. And as we're going through, I'm thinking like, oh shit, this could be a tie. And so McKenna, did you write anything down? She's like, no. And then it ended
I
up being a
didn't have
tie.
anything written down because I try and like do as best as I can to write their votes, how they actually write them. And then I was like, did anybody have any like specific things? And Greg was like, make sure you have this 100%, Jackie 100%. And I was like,
Yeah.
I got to do that one. But other than that, I just wrote them out. And then
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I revealed that the Anthony vote at the reunion, but I was able to be like, all right, I can just write Jackie on a slip of parchment. But yeah,
I was fully expecting
a
2-2-3 win for Jackie on this one. I thought that Serena and Anthony would split some votes and Jackie would pull it out. And I was shocked, and I love the way you did it. I love the way you said, and Anthony's gonna get the vote. I'm not gonna tell you. And yeah, I was frustrated, but that's how you do it. That's great.
Yeah, Kyle messed me all up with voting for be the one vote to vote for Anthony.
Yeah, we just were not prepared for that, but it happens. It was fun, and overall, I think it was a great season. Yeah. Awesome cast, awesome group of characters, so many good people at confessionals.
Yep. And so that's our finale, final tribal council. Jackie winds up winning, deservedly so. And that's a wrap on Lalomanu Beach recaps. But we will be talking with Morgan in just a second. Thank you, Robbie, for doing these with us.
Yeah, anytime. This is fun.
Hey guys, we are joined now by Morgan, who unfortunately, very, very sadly, was the final boot of the season. We are also joined by a special guest, Ian, tonight for this exit interview. As always, Dennie and my co-host, McKenna. Morgan, it was really tough to see you go. You fought to the death, but unfortunately, they made a decision to cut you loose.
Yeah, I mean, I had a fun time playing, and I knew as soon as I didn't win the final immunity challenge that it was not looking good for me. The writing was pretty clearly on the wall, but I had a great time playing, and I was proud to be the final jury member.
Yeah, we loved watching you play, and definitely your last vote for Anthony was the saddest by far, because you knew it. You were just like, well, see ya.
Yeah, I feel like I had done I'd made all the moves I could possibly make, and honestly, I feel like I was living on borrowed time for a few rounds before that. So
yep. Going all the way back to the beginning, what were your initial impressions of your tribe?
Oh man. I feel like initially I really connected with Shea. Like I felt right off the bat that he was somebody that I felt like I could work with and strategize with. I just felt like I had a good just kind of like first impression of him. And at the beginning, Shea, Jackie, and Shawn and I actually made like a 4-person thing to stick together, but that obviously did not last very long.
Yeah, I mean, spilling water on your laptop, then using your phone to talk about the person who you want out who's in the room. I don't know.
Listen, that aside, when I was watching it and I heard you say that you wanted to work with Shawn, I was like, what? Because Morgan, you seem to have like a good head on your shoulders. Everything's planned out, and Shawn's just such a wild card. So it seemed like such an odd pairing to me. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts on why you were going to work with him.
Yeah, so it was so tough because we lost the very first immunity challenge, and there was so little time to really get anything together. And I felt like my strategy, at least early on in the game, was to just go with the flow. I wasn't going to try to like make anything happen. I was just going to more or less let the game come to me. And that's how I ended up in that group of 4. And that's also how that group of 4 ended up being disbanded so quickly. Neither of those decisions were totally mine. But I do think it was probably the best move to get rid of Shawn early on for my game, at least.
Yeah, you were even going to work with him after he told you he hated Michigan.
Whatever. I don't care that much.
Like, just flat out. He was just a vocal player, but I do think it was in your best interest for him to go early on.
And you talk about losing that first challenge. We see Shea saying, I had a strategy for that challenge, but I didn't want to be that vocal person to step up for it. Who kind of was running that breakout room of deciding how many peaches to bet, what strategy to use?
So the only thing that I really remember is Jackie mentioning the strategy of betting 0, which everybody really liked.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of based everything else around that. But beyond that, I don't really feel like anybody like dominated the strategy talk of it, which I feel like might have been our downfall, is that nobody was really advocating for one specific strategy. We were just kind of like, yeah, what do you think about I don't even remember what our first one was, like 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that might have been our downfall in the game, is we didn't really have much of a strategy.
Yeah, I was in the breakout room. You guys were just kind of, okay, I guess we'll do this, but no one clear cut came in with, I'm going to pinpoint this, this, and that, which I think the other tribe did so much better.
Yeah.
But hey, you found a legacy advantage and you found a hidden immunity idol. So did you just come into the mini like knowing that you had to keep your eyes open for these things? Just having played a game before?
Yes, I feel like just knowing a little bit more of where to look for things helped tremendously. Obviously, I've played a game that Lauren has hosted before. Not that she's the only one determining how idols are going to be hidden, but that also helps. Just, and obviously I know you guys too. So, but yeah, I was definitely way more observant and keeping my eyes peeled for everything. So literally the second I got on the Zoom call, I saw all of the middle initials. And I still remember Ian's middle initial was A on that call. And I know Ian's middle initial is not A. And John's middle initial was wrong. I'm like, okay, this is clearly something. So right away, I'm like just writing out all the letters, unscrambling it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think it was 5 minutes into
It was like less than a minute.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even read my script. Ian messaged and goes, Morgan already has it. And I had the whole thing lined up after reading the rules. And so it just didn't even matter.
Yeah, I think like however the game started, like as soon as Lauren introduced herself, like I got a message from you and was like, it just gave me the answer right away. And I had to like message production and be like, okay, well, Lauren, you still have to read what you were supposed to say, but it's gone. So
yeah.
Yeah, good for you on that, because I feel like I just would have been scanning the players. Like, okay, do I know anyone? Let me scope them out. But you had your eyes peeled on that. And I just think that's so cool. Now, like, I'm taking that with me moving forward. If I were to play again, I need to keep that in mind.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely a lesson learned for me.
So for your first challenge win, you were like instrumental in the success of that, because you had a clear communication strategy of how you guys were going about it. So I guess take us through how you got decided to be the caller and all that.
So I felt very confident that I could do a good job being the caller. I wasn't going to fight for it if somebody else really wanted it, but nobody else was stepping up saying, I really want to do it. So I just felt really confident, especially knowing that I had participated in that challenge before. I wasn't the role of the caller, but I saw a very successful strategy played out previously and knew that we were going to be okay. I mean, it helped that Eli had technical issues, but I still feel like we probably would have won.
Yes,
even
you would
if
have.
that hadn't been the case. I know how the
Because
cards
you knew,
go in order.
yeah,
so.
you knew ace 2-3. So I think right off the bat, you were set to win that challenge.
Were you laughing at them when you were done? Because I don't even think they still even figured out the ace to king at that point.
So I didn't notice anything while I was calling. But I do very vividly remember when they were finishing up, or I guess I don't even know, did they finish with the cards?
No. It was
No?
They were on their last person.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were on their last person, and whoever it was had gotten their suit, and they were sorting out ace 2-3 and everything. And instead of finding the card that was next, he kept putting it on the bottom, and Dylan was like, oh my gosh, it's right there. But they kept going back through the whole deck instead of just picking the next card. So yeah, that made me kind of chuckle a little bit, but
I was laughing.
I was trying to be serious.
But it's honestly such a stressful position too, that I felt like I was also kind of coming down from like the adrenaline of being in that control kind of position.
So speaking of challenges then, which one was your favorite and which one was your least favorite?
I didn't win it, but I really liked Jeremy's challenge with the cup stacking and the dice. I just think it's a good challenge. I obviously like the memory challenge because I won that one. That's right up my alley.
Yeah, and that was a close one too. I thought we were gonna have to like message and be like, can you skip some rounds? Because you and Jackie were just like, there was one round that I cut out of the edit because both you and Jackie got it right. And I was like, okay, we're not gonna use this.
Yeah. I know after a few that we both got them all right, I was like, is this just gonna keep going forever?
Yeah.
Like I feel like we need to up the number of cards here to determine a winner.
I was getting there. I just didn't think it was gonna actually go that far.
Yeah.
Probably the challenge I liked the least was the second immunity challenge with the ping pong ball, throwing it into the cup, the relay style.
Oh, yeah.
Because I felt like it was just so painstaking to like wait for your turn and just like watching your teammates just like, I don't know. I hated that.
The anticipation.
Yeah. And we lost. So that didn't, I think we were up 2-0 or something, or 2-1 at some.
Yeah, it was best of 5, and you guys won the first 2, and then Tapua won the final 3 in a row.
Yeah, and that just really wasn't fun either.
So we heard your name come up a lot just as being a threat, and we heard it throughout the mini, right off the bat and later on, obviously. People were watching you and looking at you. And so why do you think that is? Why do you think you're perceived as such a threat?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I was truthfully shocked that I received votes at the merge. Like I said, my initial strategy was to just kind of let the game unfold and not really try to be in charge of anything. I honestly don't know. I don't know what it is. I know that's a bad answer, but
I mean, it might be just like the curse of the glasses. They're just like, she's obviously smart.
maybe, but
So going to that merge vote, McKenna asked if anyone wanted to play an idol. You said McKenna. Dylan said McKenna almost at the same time. And then McKenna said, Morgan, do you want to use your idol? Or do you want to use an idol? And you paused for what seemed like an eternity when I was watching it. So were you thinking of not using it at the time? Because obviously then people knew that you had one. But were you thinking of just not using it?
I think I was always going to play it, but I think I was also just processing the fact that I was not expecting Dylan to also say that he was going to play something. So I think I just had that kind of split second internal processing of, okay, what's going to unfold here if I do play the idol? And like I said, I was not anticipating to get the votes. It was just sort of a protection for myself that I didn't want to go out on a rock draw. I just feel like that's sometimes how my luck would unfold.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the whole reason why I played it to start.
So how in shock were you when Dylan didn't play it for himself and instead played it for Nikki, knowing that you're sitting there, you're playing yours, and you know that you guys voted for him?
I mean, I was very thankful because at that point I had no idea that the votes were going to be on me. Mm-hmm. So I was super nervous that all of our votes were going to be negated. So I wouldn't have done what he did, but it worked out.
I was like, I've watched that like several times, and I just scanned people's faces to see if anyone's like trying to like contain their excitement, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get him out right now.
Yeah.
But you guys played it off really well.
That's good.
I think one thing that we were kind of mentioning in some of the other recaps was you weren't as flexible with some of the Tapua members, so you played a little bit more rigid to Pasea. Do you think if you did something earlier on where you brought some Tapua members in and be like, hey, not for this vote, but maybe later on down the line we can do something?
Yeah, I've also thought about that. I think that's definitely something that I would need to work on for future games, is being a little more flexible. I feel like it always makes me nervous to jump ship and then have people report back and say, oh, she's the one that's jumping ship, let's just vote her out.
Right.
I felt like I was trying to make some inroads with Kyle a little bit.
Well, you made a very important inroad with Kyle.
I did, yes. But I also had no idea that the women's alliance was actually happening. It's really hard to put myself back in that spot, but I feel like if I had been able to actually have a conversation with Jackie and Brittley where it was like, okay, are we doing this? And if they were on board, then I would have definitely considered it. Mm-hmm. So, but
that just speaks to how quick the rounds are, though. You just don't have enough time to really get that communication, so it never got to you, so you didn't even have the chance to contemplate that decision.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going back to what you said about jumping ship, we know that Jackie did that. And she just said, oh yeah, I was really confused. Did you think at all in the back of your mind, I wonder if she really was confused or if she did that on purpose? Because I know how smart you are. And I know, like, my mind, I'm always paranoid. You know what I'm saying? So I would have definitely been thinking, I wonder if she's being honest. So I just wondered if you ever thought that she was being dishonest with you, or you just put all of your faith in her.
So the final 9 and final 8, she voted really against us without me knowing. I did not think she had mentioned before not necessarily wanting to work with Shea and Greg long term. She had said that to me. And I didn't really, again, I was rigid with that, right? I didn't want to jump off of that so quickly. So when the vote happened at final 7, I wasn't surprised, I guess, but I know I was confused at 9 and 8 with the vote. So I felt like if I could have been confused, so could somebody else. And I didn't really put much stock into it. So I still trusted her until final 7.
I mean, really, she could play off the Serena Anthony vote because you all were like, okay, Anthony. And then Greg is just like, it's Serena. I got the numbers. Don't worry.
I'm still like, that's the one vote that like keeps me up at night where not really, but you know what I'm saying. It's just like,
if I only went with my gut, Anthony wouldn't have.
Yeah, and why, Greg?
Your face at Tribal when McKenna read that it was a tie, the annoyed look on your face was.
Yeah, I was so
can't
pissed.
describe it.
Like if we had just voted for Anthony, then the game, it would have unfolded much differently because the numbers would have been 5-2 instead of 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's.
Well, another player that I was surprised you aligned with was Greg. The you and Shea thing, I could totally see that, but Greg's just another complete wild card. So yeah, he's as fun as he is to watch. He's not really someone that I would want to align with because you really don't know what to expect with him.
Yeah, I definitely started seeing that further in the game. But again, I feel like the mini is just so different than the long game. Like if it were a long game, there's no way I would have worked with him long term just because he is so just all over the place. It's hard to keep track of his logic of why he's wanting to go a certain way. And that's just, I don't know. I couldn't.
And we saw you almost get out that, hey, I've got something to. And then Kyle joins in the room.
Yeah, I know.
To try and see if you both can like go into different places to see where votes are going or steer votes some way or manipulate it so Greg didn't go out that vote and you could use his vote somewhere else. But then Kyle joins it like just the wrong time.
I know. I really would have loved to try to be able to do something at the final 6 with my legacy advantage. And I guess I didn't realize at the time, but I thought of playing it for Greg. But I couldn't play it for anybody else except myself.
Correct.
So if there was some way that I could have known the votes or made the votes come on me instead of on him, I don't know.
We had just discussed with Robbie that he was saying that Greg kind of felt like he was hinting at like, here, I'll steer all the votes on me. And Morgan, you briefly said you had something, so maybe, just maybe, we could do it that way. And I was like, that's an interesting take that Greg was trying to pull all the attention to him being like, I'm the biggest threat. I vote for me. Why are you keeping me around? That's stupid. For everybody to vote for him, and then you to be like, great, he's safe. What are you guys gonna do about that? Goodbye.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would have been the ideal scenario for me at that point. Would be to have been able to play it on him, but he and I never were able to talk one-on-one after I half got my sentence out about having an advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
but you got 11 votes this season, and only 3 of them counted. So
nice.
I think that's a pretty big feat to like have the most votes cast against you in the season, but still only be eliminated by 3 votes.
Yeah, I guess going back to Denny's question about why I was a threat, I don't know why I was a threat early on, honestly, still. But I knew playing the idol at the merge would definitely put me out there. So I knew I was a target. I knew it was just a matter of time.
But I think it's a mix of like, we talked to Jackie already, and she said, that, yeah, people are just drawn to you because you have such a great personality. Like, you pop up in the rooms and you just immediately start talking, and people want to work with you because you're you. But then on the other tribe, you had Dylan, who had seen you play in a game before, and he's telling everyone she probably has the idol. She's super smart. So I think that worked against you too, just like him putting your name out there. Because the great thing about this game was that there were a lot of new faces and not many people did know each other. But you have that one person who's seen you play before.
Yeah.
And knows what you're working with up here. And then they tell everyone. So I think it was like a little bit of just who you are and how well you handle yourself. And then just someone having seen you play before in your only other game.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that it was a game of very few previous relationships. Yes. I just enjoyed the way that the game unfolded because of that. So
yeah, that was our biggest goal coming into season 2, because season 1, way too many pre-existing relationships. People knew each other from various games. So we really wanted to limit, if any, relationships. Because did you know of Dylan when you came into the game, or did you not know of anybody?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, I don't really think I knew anybody at all.
I think Dylan knowing your game might be my bad, because I played with Dylan and I was like, yeah, I was in this other game.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He was like, oh yeah, what one? And I was like, ooh, all right.
That's okay. Not like it's some secret. I have to accept that it's out there, right?
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
Yeah, and I think like one of the big things, like now, I feel like we just talked about like pre-existing relationships or people knowing each other or whatever. I think like the relationships that really do matter are the ones that like have you played together before. I feel like you could put, 2 people who might be like Facebook friends, but they're not going to just work together because they know. I mean, like people who know your game, like even Dylan didn't even know Morgan, but he knew like partly her game. Like that's a big deal compared to, like Dylan might know that Morgan's Facebook friends with, you just said you weren't with any, but just for like Eli, for example, I mean, that's not that big of a deal, but and you're not Facebook friends with Eli, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I think that's like an interesting part that I don't know if like enough people who play these games like analyze. Is just, it's not so much knowing each other, it's just knowing the game of someone else, because that's the big cheese right there. So
do you think that you made a critical mistake in the mini?
I mean, the biggest one that I go back to is the final 8 vote. That I could have just voted for Anthony. But I guess I could have also not played my idol at the merge because Dylan played his idol wrong.
That's true.
So
but
we would have tied and I would have been safe. And I would have still had my idol.
Yeah.
And nobody would have
in
known.
that scenario, how do you know? I
Yeah,
feel
it's just
Yeah, you don't.
because
You don't.
said that you didn't know that you were surprised that your name came up.
Yeah.
That's what was crazy to me when you hesitated. Because, like, you said McKenna's name a split second before he did. So just that pause, I was like, I wonder if she's thinking, like, why didn't Dylan say her name first? And then I wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
But, you know, the what ifs and the should haves and could haves, they're always going to be there.
I think the other thing that, and I don't know that this is a mistake as much of, I just wish that Jackie and I could have gotten on the same page because there were so many votes that she and I literally just never got the chance to talk to each other just for whatever reason. And I really do feel like in another game or something, she and I would really work well together. We're very like-minded in a lot of ways, and she's just calm, cool, and collected. But she just was able to maneuver a lot better in the post-merge than I was.
But she also did want to bring you along as far as possible. She very much told Tapua, like, yo, can we at least bring her to 4 and then get her out at 4? Even though she was in another alliance, she still wanted to work with you, if you would call it that.
Yeah. I was like the last on her hit list or something.
Yeah, exactly. She was like, get rid of everybody else, even though Morgan is kind of my only challenge threat now that, like, Greg is gone and there is that possibility that she wins that final challenge. I'll take it because she's probably still gonna bring me.
Yeah, I would have loved to have a all-female final 3 of me, Jackie, and Serena.
That would have been a great final 3 and
I
a
would have
great
loved
final
to see
tribal.
that. Oh my gosh, that would have been.
Wait, you would have taken, if you won Final Four immunity, you're telling me you would have taken Jackie over Anthony, Morgan? Come on.
I don't know. I think I might have.
I just.
I can totally see her doing that.
I can
Taking
too.
Jackie.
She had voted for Anthony pretty
out
much
the whole
every tribal council.
Yeah, but Anthony had no win equity.
I almost
Like,
voted
it
for
was like
Anthony,
taking a Gatorade
honestly.
bottle to the final with Kyle's name attached to it.
My vote was torn between Anthony and Jackie. I was not ever going to vote for Serena.
Can we talk about that then? So why were you leaning towards Anthony if it wasn't going to be Jackie?
So I felt like Anthony did a good job explaining his path to the end and at the final tribal council. And I found myself being convinced that he was able to maneuver his way to the end from that minority position. He was able to, I mean, he and Jackie are kind of two sides of the same coin, right? Where she went to that side and he pulled her in, however you want to say it. But I think he did a good job articulating what he did in the game to make it as far as he did, despite having people like me trying to vote him out every single round and being unsuccessful every single time. And Jackie, which is also equally impressive, won the immunity challenge at 6, 5, and 4, which who knows how those votes would have gone down if she didn't have immunity at those rounds. I don't know.
For sure. Like, would they have flipped on Jackie and, like, let you go along another couple votes, or would it have still played out the same and at, like, 5 or 4 she would have went? Who knows?
Yeah.
So how
I mean, the
close
thing is,
were
I
you?
still had, what's that?
How close were you then between Jackie and Anthony?
I
Were
really
you
didn't.
sitting in with your vote going, or was it just you really considering it during their final tribal council speeches?
I really didn't know for sure until I asked my question, which was asking about the final 8 tribal council, because I genuinely did not know that she intentionally chose to make the vote happen the way that it did. And when she showed how she had all the votes written out, that just showed to me that she had much more of an awareness of the game and made an intentional shift in the whole dynamic of how everybody was aligned. And I said it in my final voting confessional. She adapted to the game. It's about timing, and she made the right move at the right point in the game and did it very intentionally. And I felt like because of that, she deserved the win.
Mm-hmm.
And she won 3 individual immunities. So
4. Just 3 in a
4.
row.
The
She won the plank
too.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
oh, at final 10. That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree. Anthony did have, I mean, it was a good final tribal, but there were very poor performances, I think, from the 2 people who got the most votes. I think Anthony had the best final tribal. I think he displayed his game. I would have never voted for him in a million years before final tribal. I mean, I think he had the best final tribal council for sure. Serena and Jackie they kind of dilly-dallied a little bit. I mean, your answer of why you voted for Jackie is exactly why I would never have voted for Jackie, but I think that's just like 2 different. I mean, if you put yourself in a rock draw, we're talking about the Brittley vote, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you purposefully put yourself in a rock draw where it didn't have to be, no matter what, I will never vote for you in a million years, which makes sense and is fine because I will never play again. So I will never have to vote again. So yeah, it's just like, it's funny. And that's just like Morgan and I played together and we're like super close. Like I would have never written her name down, vice versa. Like, it's funny that her and I, 2 like-minded people, would just, I mean, that's a deciding vote right there, like between 2 people. It's just funny that in these games, like you could be person's number 1 and then have a completely different mind when it comes to the final vote. And I think that's also part of what makes the game great. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of her thought for going to Rocks is like, it's a mini. I've had a good run. Let's see.
No way in hell you do it in a long game. A mini, you're giving 1 day, 2 days, but a long game. If I'm at final 9, final 10, no freaking way. If I've lasted a couple weeks so far.
That's that's part of the game too, is the mini. If you did that in a long game, man.
And she said she never would.
Yeah.
I
just think also too, the game's about making calculated risks, and it was a risk, but she was lucky enough to not get picked. So
I just think, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're here talking about you, so talk about it another time.
Before I forget, Morgan, describe your game in 1 word.
oh my gosh.
And if it isn't in 1 word, you're not getting my vote.
You had to know this
Wait,
question
can I
was
preface this? No, I'm just kidding.
You got to give an explanation after.
Oh no, please don't.
This is tough.
You knew the question was coming.
I did?
Maybe she doesn't watch our exits.
Guess she doesn't watch any of the exits. She's asked it on every single exit interview.
Oh. I don't know why this word keeps coming to mind, but the word is sincere.
Mhm.
I feel like, I guess I can't explain. But that's
No, you can't. I was kidding.
You can
You're
explain.
not getting my vote now. You're not getting my vote.
Well, Morgan, you were awesome to watch.
Mhm.
I was so excited to see you play again and was happy that it was like mostly new faces, like I already mentioned, so that you were able to play. And I just love watching how your mind works and just how you are with people, because I do think people are just like drawn to working with you. So it says just a lot about who you are. You were so fun. Just
Yeah.
anytime you entered a room, like a lot of people would enter rooms and kind of just pop in and not say a word. We saw so many people do that. And you would just jump in and be like, hey guys, how's it
Yeah.
going?
Yeah, you reminded me a lot of, and I'll bring in a season 1 retro here, but reminded me a lot of my older brother, the way you like navigated the quickness of the breakout rooms, where you were just like, you're both very bubbly people, and it was just like, for me, I was excited to watch I think I was just excited to watch you interact with people, because when we played, I was your people. So, and here I can see all the conversations, and I couldn't do that back then. So yeah, I knew how smart you were. And I think everyone now knows, more people know now how quickly you pick up on things in the game. So I think, yeah, you're someone that could win any season that you play in. So.
And definitely one of the top like confessional people too, where it's like, oh, I know I'm gonna get what I need, and Morgan's exact like, I'm working with X, Y, and Z to do this plan, and this is the way we're voting. Like, I would bless. Like,
Yes.
I had something to like cut with and work with, where I'm like, here's something concrete. Thank you. And then I don't think anybody even had to prompt you to be like, I just got the legacy advantage. Here was the clue to the idol that I just got. And I was like, great. It won't be a mystery.
People who play these games need to start realizing that it's a pro for production, and it's a pro for themselves to just say what they need to say and get the hell out of there. Quit coming in and trying to explain to us in 5,000 words what you're doing. It's hurting your game as much as it's hurting us to listen to it. So just get in and get out. I promise you, it's better for you. You can strategize instead of being in here talking to T-God or whoever it is. So
this is exactly why we brought Ian for this exit. But I have to say, Morgan, I was super excited when you texted me back and said that you're in, because I was begging you to death to play. I'm happy you did it. You were phenomenal. Before we get to a special announcement, I just want to sincerely thank you, Dennie, for being on the exits with McKenna and myself this season. You were awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you on future ones with exits.
For a season, because we'll force you to play.
Yeah, I mean, I force people to play all the time, so maybe we'll see.
You see how well it worked out when we forced Morgan and Jeremy to play. So, I mean...
Yeah, but Morgan and Jeremy aren't doing exit interviews where they're like saying, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you play this like this?
Well, you never know.
But thank you guys for having me, because I love it. So I appreciate you bringing me on.
You're awesome. All right, so gonna go to the big announcement that we do have. Ian, Morgan, take it away.
All right, so the next thing on tap for Survivor Game Show Network is a long game hosted by myself and lovely Morgan Jackson. So the long game is entitled Survivor Exile Island, and like Lauren just talked about, her forcing people to play, we have forced Miss Lauren to play in our game. So yes, the season is amazing. 16 people, and I'm so excited for the episodes to come out, because it's great. And I think, of course, with McKenna involved and Dennie doing exit interviews, it's gonna come out great for viewers as well, because I think that's something for these games that we kind of do a little differently. It's great for the viewers and for the players, so I'm excited for that.
And I just want to note that this was kind of completely Morgan and Ian's brainchild. They had started planning it since their last game. So everything that you see is definitely, it's pretty much just 100% them. And we're just lucky to be the channel that they're putting this awesome game on. It's jam-packed with a lot of great gameplay. So stay tuned for that. We'll be putting out cast assessments, drafts, the whole 9 yards, and then rolling into the episodes.
Can't wait.
And Dennie will be back on exit interviews for that season too. So
and watching hours of footage.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I get to sit out of that.
Yeah. Well, you weren't participating a lot in this season because you were playing. You didn't edit this season. It was Dennie and I.
It's partly season 1 though, for sure.
Yeah. This
Just
is
this season.
You got another break, Lauren.
You had your mind elsewhere. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and then stay tuned for the final 3's exit interviews. Good night, everyone.